Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening, and welcome to the fifth episode of our Community Action Network series of co-governance webinars. We host these sessions monthly on the last Wednesday of every month, and this is really a space for local community organizations to learn how to expand some of the work they do and learn from others who are doing incredible things in their communities. I'm Julia Fish. I'm the manager of the Johannesburg Community Action Network, known as Joburg Can, which is an initiative of OUTA. If you have any questions for the panel, please make use of the chat and Q&A functions, and we'll get to as many of those as possible in the last 15 minutes or so. And also please make use of the chat to introduce yourself, tell us where you're joining us from this evening. We'd love to hear from you. Tonight, we're talking about a community success story that has grown beyond its borders and influenced communities across South Africa. Tidy Towns aims to enhance the beauty and functionality of local neighborhoods by encouraging residents to take active roles in maintaining cleanliness, improving infrastructure, and fostering a sense of community pride. This initiative focuses on sustainable practices, environmental education, and collaboration with local businesses and authorities. This inspiring project is more than just a cleanup, though. It is testament to the power of collective action. So picture this: neighbors and strangers alike rolling up their sleeves to repair potholes, clear debris, and maintain a pristine environment. The results are a cleaner, safer, and more vibrant community that shines as beacons of what can be achieved when people come together with purpose. So tonight, to help me to discuss co-governance, I'm joined by my colleague, Julius Kleinhans, who's the Executive Manager of the Local Government Division of OUTA. But first, let me introduce Tidy Towns. We are joined by co-founder and self-described driver of Tidy Towns, Stephen Herbst. Before you delve into the history, Stephen, perhaps you could give us an idea of where you're active and where Tidy Towns chapters are operating. For instance, I know one just opened in Durban's Bluff area.
Good day, everyone. Stephen Herbst here from Tidy Town, Shelley Beach to Margate. I'm here on the South Coast. Had a magnificent day today. We've got no jackets, as you can see. It was a balmy, warm day here on the South Coast. So Tidy Towns, I grew up on the South Coast. I went to Margate Primary and then Port Shepstone High, and I'm a businessman down here. And we have, since we started in late 2021, we have opened up Tidy Towns in and around the areas. The original was Tidy Towns, Shelley Beach to Margate. We then followed that by Tidy Towns, Port Shepstone, Tidy Towns, Sea Park to Banana Beach, Tidy Towns, Glen Ashley, Pennington, Scottburgh, Amanzimtoti, Kokstad, the Buffalo City area, and Port Edward, as well as the most recent, as you just mentioned, the Bluff area. So we are very much out there, and people have heard what we're about, and I've done a few talks around the country. I think this specific invite was because of my talk that was done in Bothaville a few weeks ago. We're gaining some nice traction.
Yeah, you've definitely been on our radar as the Community Action Network for some of the work you've been doing for some time. So we're really excited to talk to you this evening, Stephen. Tell us a little about some of the challenges that the communities in the kind of South Coast area were facing that brought this initiative about.
Yeah, so the South Coast, obviously, as you know, the airport was moved from the Isipingo area to the Durban North, or should I say Mhlanga area, Belito area, and that kind of added a traveling time of about 30 minutes from our lower South Coast. And, you know, here on the South Coast, we only have one industry, which is tourism. We have like an NPC and those bigger corporates, but even Coca-Cola and the other big brands down here had eventually left and moved back towards the Durban area. And then with that comes the challenges of job creation in the area, as well as lawlessness and drugs. We had quite a big drug problem here and have had one for quite some time, and that was just it just grew with time. And then obviously with the lack of tourists coming down to the area, we started seeing more and more vagrism, loitering, and obviously drug abuse on the South Coast.
One of the major things that was a huge setback for that kind of tourist flow in KZN was, of course, the 2022 floods. Tidy Towns, of course, then found itself in a very different space, having to coordinate things like road repairs amongst other service delivery issues. How have you embarked in building your relationship specifically with your local municipality? And what advice do you give to other organizations that are trying to build the same kind of relationship?
Yeah, so Julia, I think what I should do is I should actually tell you the whole story of how we came about and how the necessity of like-minded business people got together. And I think that'll give you a good understanding. So if you want to hear the whole, then I'll go through each and every one. Just let me know how much time we've got, because I do this quite often.
Absolutely, we'd love to hear about the whole story, the whole initiative. That would be amazing.
Okay, so here we go. So in 2021, obviously I've been here my whole life. I'm a businessman. I employ over 180 staff myself. I've got a clothing company and air conditioning business here on the South Coast. And I was instrumental in being part of the development of the Margate Ratepayers and Residents Association in 2016, after going to Margate Beach and really seeing the dereliction, the lack of service that was being carried out by the municipality and obviously the water board, because we've got a regional municipality, which is Ray Nkonyeni Municipality, and then we've got a district municipality, the Ugu municipality. So I want to fast forward from there. So I've always been a part of it. And then what happened is in 2021, I got a phone call from a friend and he says, Steve, you know what, you got to meet this Reg Horn. He's moved down here to come and retire. And he wants to meet you. He's heard about what you try to do. And I had very little feedback and I had very little support when I tried to do it in 2016. And we used the approach of let's attack the SAPS, let's attack law enforcement, let's take on municipal structures and the district municipality. And to be very honest with you, I got nowhere, we got nowhere, the people that were involved got nowhere. So I said, yeah, no problem. You know, I love the South Coast, I'm not going anywhere. I know what this beautiful South Coast has to offer, and it's a rough diamond, it just needs to be polished. So I met with Reg at St. Michael's Beach, and his love for surfing, my love for surfing growing up. And we met there, and he said, listen, I've got a proposal for you. You've lived here your whole life. You've got all the business connections. You're quite well known. Do you want to come on board? I said, yeah, Reggie, absolutely. How are we going to do this? So let me give you Reg's background. Reg's background is he owns Whistleblowers International, which operates in 47 countries. And he was an ex-serious and violent crime policeman, and he owns Justicia Investigation. So his whole background has been crime prevention and that sort of background. And he carried out his duties for the SAPS in the Addington area on the Durban beachfront. So he's quite well aware and well rehearsed on what goes on beachfronts. So I'm all excited and I'm sitting there and say, oh no, how are we going to take these guys on? And he says, well, we're going to forge relationships and we're going to bring them in and we're going to hold hands and we're going to do this together. And sorry, are you there? Okay.
Yes, I am. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I just got a call there. It was, yeah. All right, so I said to him, well, do you mean are we going to do this together? And I was blown away because no one's ever used this approach. And we then called a meeting with Ray Nkonyeni Municipality because our problem at St. Michael's Beach, so this was started primarily with St. Michael's Beach. We had a business operator over there, and they were really battling with the lawlessness, the vagrants, the drinking in public, sex in the car park early hours of the morning from the party before. It was a mess, a total mess, litter, everything. And so we called a meeting with the local law enforcement, Safiso Ndlaku and Darren Govender, and that got off to quite a rocky start in the beginning. And we called them to St. Michael's. We said, listen, guys, we want to work with you. This is what we've identified. We've got a massive drug problem over here. Will you guys buy in? Where can we find common ground and how do we make relationships with the municipality? And at the time, Safiso, the chief of law enforcement, said, you know, he's also battling because his son trains for athletics, and he likes to train him on the beach, and he grew up in the St. Michael's area, and yeah, let's see how we can work together. And the next thing you know, we were in the middle of a magnificent conversation about it, and we said, okay, well, can you guys start at the back of St. Michael's, curb the drinking, let's get the bylaws. And we started actually researching the document. So we had a magnificent bylaws document that was started in 2016. So it was promulgated, and we've got a nice set of bylaws with strict fines, etc. And we were then busy with that, and we found common ground on enforcing the bylaws. And then Reg and I said, okay, well, we'll come back to you guys. You guys carry on there. And the first thing we did is we went into the car park and we said, right, you guys are car guards here. We found all the car guards, we identified them, and we pulled them in and we said, listen, guys, where are you guys from, number one? What is the story over here? Because you're selling drugs, we know you are, and you know, why are you doing this? And then we got to know the research background. So we started questioning each and every guy. And you know, you have to be a car guard, you actually have to have a PASIRA registration. And that PASIRA registration has to be, you have to go for, I think it's a grade D or E. And you can't be a car guard unless you've got that. So one of the bylaws was then they become loiterers. Out of the 11 guys that we took out of the car park, we said to them, well, this is now going to be make or break, guys. You're either going to toe the line, you're going to clean up your area, and we're going to work together. This is our plan. We want to draw tourism. So Tidy Towns from the beginning was all about tourism. And the tourism that we want to draw back like it was in the past. And we worked with each other, and we said to them, right, so my background is marketing. So if you have a look, you'll see I market everything in that. So I've got a marketing background with Mercedes-Benz. So I took the guys and I taught them meet and greet, number one. We did the basics, so we did the edging of the paving, the reclaiming of the paving. We got local plumbers involved to run new piping, to put in JoJo tanks so that we had backup water. And this started snowballing. But the problem that we had with the car guards is, out of the 11 car guards, all of them had criminal records. And I'm talking from rape to murder, you won't believe it, drug dealing, possession of drugs, all sorts of things. And we told them that this is how we're going to go forward. And what we did is we got the police in and we fingerprinted all the guys first. We did 192s. And we said, well, this is how we're going to go from here on. And out of the 11, 6 stayed. And to this day, those 6 are still with us. And the problem that they had is they weren't making money. There's no jobs on the coast. So what they were doing is they were earning like 30 Rand out of season a day, and they had to choose between going home, which cost them 30 Rand, or sleeping in the bush and eating. Some of them had drug dependency. So Niope and Wunga, it's the same thing. It's antiretroviral drugs mixed with heroin. And though when we started out, a capsule of Wunga was 25 Rand. The problem with that is when you get onto Wunga, in the beginning, it gives you energy and you forget about all your problems. And it's a crazy high for what I can understand. And your dependency goes to between 4 and 6 tablets a day. So they needed to make those, I'm talking 2021, 120 Rand a day just for their habits, to 150 Rand. And they were making 30. So that's where they listed stealing, theft, stealing from local infrastructure like the public toilets, and that came in. So within the first week, we went to the restaurant owner and we said, listen, we've got to help these guys to show them that we invested. So we went to the public, we got brooms and spades and all sorts donated, and we started the cleanup process, and you will not believe it. Within 2 weeks, just before December 2021, we had huge buy-in from the public, and these guys were already earning 150 Rand a day. And that's how we started working. Then the police saw what we were doing, and they were now almost feeling obliged to come and help us, and they started engaging with us. And then we had the buy-in from the police. So we had this Wunga heroin problem, we had vagrism, we had lawlessness, And now all of a sudden in December 2021, we had this plan of we're going to enforce the bylaws, which we did successfully. And that's where Tidy Town started. We heard about an organization in Ireland called Tidy Towns. Their concept was if you clean your areas, you actually get a rebate on your rates and taxes for that area. So each town like basically challenged each other. We didn't even read the document. We just liked the name and we said, well, let's go Tidy Towns. And then I started getting a lot of questions. Well, guys, you guys have changed St. Michael so much. You've got plumbers doing work there. You've cleaned up your tidal pool. You've cleaned up your infrastructure. Your toilets are clean. We were having the septic tank and the conservancy tank drained, and it was just one step after the other. We were gaining momentum, and the public was getting involved. And then they said, "Well, don't you guys want to do Shelley Beach, the ski boat base, a small craft harbour?" And we were like, "Geez, we only wanted to do this for us, for surfing, and for the tourism." And I grew up surfing there. And my pet love, if you speak to anyone, they'll tell you. I tell everyone the Eiffel Tower of the South Coast is still Margate. Everyone remembers Margate. They remember Backline. They remember the bronze bodies and the sunburn and the smell of sun cream. So I saw the bigger picture. And Reg and I had now, we got a farmer involved, Scott Carswick, and we've got an ocean-going surfer and fisherman and charter operator, or Chris Corsten. And then we pulled in Reg's wife, and we started to have a money collection at the restaurant, and whatever we made at the restaurant, we then gave once a week to all the volunteers, so those 6 guys. So 4 guys would work in the morning and 2 at night, so we could keep the vagrants away. And we played soccer. We said, okay, guys, from 6 in the morning until 10 o'clock, you keep this place spotless, you clean the beach, you do the edges, and we'll advertise and we'll bring people here, and whatever donations we get, we will give to you. Man, they were earning.
Stephen, sorry to interrupt. That kind of brings me on to my next question. Is you've spoken about getting businesses on board and getting the help of residents and interested parties, but how else do you kind of keep your operations financially sustainable?
We just blessed, to be honest with you. But I mean, if you get to see the people that I work with, like Scott Carswick, he's the farmer. We don't wait. We don't talk. We see a problem, we fix it. We get permission and we fix it. We've renovated, I think, 4 or 5 tidal pools, and I'm talking serious ramp refurbs, building the old tidal pool next to St. Michael's tidal pool that was damaged in 1984. And all the expats that live overseas, we joined the round table, as I said, and they run our bank account. They've got an MPO number, and they opened a bank account for us. And we started asking for donations, and those donations go to these projects. And if we put a project out there and we say, listen, we want to do a paving job at Uvonga Beach like we did in the beginning, the paving was donated, the labor for the paving was donated, the cement was donated, and the community just pulled together. All the big builders got involved. Everyone started seeing bums in beds and people talking about the South Coast again. And then we decided, okay, let's do Shelley Beach. And we did the same thing over there. We pulled 22 vagrants out of the bush over there. We bought bus tickets for people that were down here that couldn't get back to their homes. So we helped people leave so that they didn't become a burden on the coast. And every single person that came in would be a case of, oh, I'm hungry, or, the begging element. So we've got a sustained income, a recurring income from businesses. So now we've got an accounting system, we've got an invoicing system, and we hold golf days. We've got merchandise that we sell. You won't believe it, but Tidy Towns has become a brand. So people wear the clothing and they wear the shirt. And I own a clothing factory, so I do the embroidery, I do the caps. I buy a cap with embroidery for 100 Rand, I sell it for 150. The 50 Rand goes to our volunteers. We had an insurance company that has sponsored our public liability. So we cover there with our volunteers, and if we damage anything, we've been donated chainsaws, equipment, you name it, fuel to run these operations. And there's about 5 of us, and we've got the whole buy-in of our community. We work hand in hand with our SAPS. We work very closely with Brigadier Slubbert from the Margate cluster. He's the station commander. And he's been instrumental in working with us from day one. And we went to Shelley Beach, and then we went to Uvonga, and this snowball effect started where people just loved what we were doing, and they just, everything we got involved with, they just threw money, and they they were there and we were there, and we put a positive spin on everything we did. We never saw, okay, we've got floods. We were like, this is what makes us relevant. So we've got a purpose. So then bring on the floods. Bring on the 300 mils of rain 2 months ago. We'll be down there first. We'll lead the way. We'll get it started. And that's what we've done. And I think when you start talking about governments, outer, and that unity that you need, I think we've got a really good community, and we were so left behind and forgotten that we had to hold hands and walk together. And I mean, we've got groups where I'm sitting on environmental groups, Ugu district municipality groups, Ray Nkonyeni groups, and we'll say, okay, listen, there's an overgrown pathway at Margate, we're going to cut it. Wendy, will you, from cleaning and maintenance, will you bring your truck tomorrow and remove it? And lo and behold, we go there the next morning and it's been picked up and removed. We sit in pre-season meetings, and to get you to the front, because I can talk all day. I don't think, like, we've been a part of everything in our town. We even contribute to the 12 reservists that are now part of a crime prevention team with all our security companies. And we basically united our security companies to work with law enforcement and the SAPS all together in what we call clean makes clean. If you clean the area, you invite clean people. And we've got a saying that says, together we can do so much more, and that's what we've done. And it's been an amazing journey for 2.5 years, and we're finding even more traction, and we've hosted 2 surf events that have brought about 2.5 million rand per surf event. We held the SA Champs in 2022. That was for Masters, and in 2023, they asked us to do it again and combine the Masters and the Opens together, and that was heralded as the best SA Champs in the last 10 years. So get down and do
Amazing. Stephen, we've got a couple of questions that we'll get to in the last 15 minutes around how you really get the police involved and how you've created that relationship, as well as, you know, looking into legal action against municipalities and what you think there. But before we do that, I'd like to just bring in Julius, who's been extremely involved in community activism space, from taking on massive water issues to being instrumental in assisting OUTA's legal team take judicial action against various state entities. His experience is vast. So Julius, perhaps you can position what we at CAN and OUTA mean by community activism, and then talk about the lessons you've learned from various actions you've been involved in.
Thanks, Julia. You know, I think just to touch on what Stephen said, and it's really crucial. A wise man once told me as well that life is all about relationships, and the relationships you build, as well as the character that you build with it. And I think that's always the best starting point. You know, if you look at public service, I think it's a role that is very ill appreciated. Not a lot of people really appreciate the work of good officials and you know, the public service in general. So I think it's always important to approach those people with relational, you know, first engagement, to ensure that you tick all the boxes before one just expresses oneself emotionally, if I can put it like that. And Stephen just has a good testimony on that. So I think that's really essential. So out of my experience, that's always been the first approach, you know, and it's about how you approach individuals and how you make them feel. And when you get someone else's buy-in and you don't just tell them what to do, you will get a lot further in life. I think that's something that you can even apply in your own home. So, so that I think has really been a great success in the relationships built in government in the past. I think another thing that's really important, and that's what Stephen also touched on, but you know, we speak about the 3 T's of community building. So it's basically your time, your tithe, and your talent. Well, what I mean by that is all of us have some kind of passion or expertise or something we can contribute to the greater good or civil society. Some of us don't necessarily have the time and to actually get involved, but you might have the funds to support initiatives such as this with Stephen and them. I think if you really apply your mind and you apply all 3 T's, all of us can actually siphon off some time towards these community projects, but it needs to be in an area of your interest. I think that's what's really crucial, because usually when there's problems in communities, it's the people who are most passionate who want to drive it. But you have to create capacity for sustainability in that space. And that's what Stephen also touched on, you know, about doing things, not overthinking it, not complaining about it. If you've towed the line, you try to build the relationships, you understand the right channels that you need to follow through on, and you understand what you look at the problem holistically, you can actually ask yourself what you really want out of it and what impact you really want to make. And that is where you need to start building capacity to ensure the sustainability of it. It's so crucial, because what we've seen a lot of communities doing, especially when there's crime-related issues, is all of a sudden they create this community watch, and people are patrolling, and they're not really familiar with the law and all those kind of things. And the risk and liability on them are quite high. But more to that, because that problem is so emotive, people start doing patrols every night, every second night, in 1 o'clock in the morning and things like that. And it takes about 2 to 3 weeks, and that whole thing collapses, because it's a few people that are overextended, and they don't have a medium to long-term plan or vision in sight. So I think one has to understand the problem holistically. You have to build the relations, you have to follow the right channels to ensure that you come to the right outcome that you seek. And it is very important to ensure that you have the financial and capacity, sustainability to drive those things. And the beautiful thing about communities is you have all these different traits and passions and expertise. It's really just about harnessing that energy and putting people in their right roles in respective areas. So yeah, I think that's a lot of experience that I've picked up in the past. And leadership is everything. But in communities, talk is cheap. It's those who follow the process and do things that get a long way.
So in particular, Outer has developed the Community Action Network known as CAN, an initiative specifically in the city of Joburg through me called Joburg Can, and another with a focus on water called Water Can. So shout out to Dr. Ferial Adam, who is participating in the chat this evening and runs that program. Why did Outer feel it was important to launch initiatives like this?
Yeah, I think, you know, what Stephen and them have also been doing, there's such a need in South Africa for co-governance. And the reason I'm saying co-governance is we expect services that we pay for. And if you look globally, it's not only in South Africa, where communities expect the services they pay for, that's where the municipalities perform the weakest and the worst. Where communities are actively involved, have oversight, participate in local government affairs, are part of the decision making on what projects need to be conducted in the communities, are part of looking at the crime statistics and identifying the hotspots and asking the hard questions, or becoming part of the solution. That is where communities thrive, and it's not only in South Africa. And I think the testimony of Stephen is so, you know, it speaks exactly to what we need in the country for sustainable change. That's the only way we're going to turn our municipalities around. I'm not saying for one moment that we need to double tax ourselves, and you know, we're already paying for those services. We need to ensure that we build the right relationships and support the right people, the good officials in these municipalities to get the projects done. We need to exercise our rights in communities to ensure that we do things according to the Constitution, because in South Africa, we have to be actively involved as residents in our municipal affairs. And because of these things lacking and the lack of understanding in communities, we've done quite substantive research in what is really needed in communities to do this work. And from that, we basically identified the need for networking. this as an example is a very good example where Stephen tells their story. Other people are exposed to the successes of a Stephen. It gives other folk in this room now the opportunity to reach out to Stephen and build on those successes, not necessarily having to write all the or pay all the school fees once again and try to do something from scratch. So I think exposing people and giving them access to proper solutions is essential, and that's what we're trying to achieve. But going further on that is also to ensure that we can expose people to best practices. So writing up action plans and giving people the ability, like Dr. Farrell Adam in the room from Watercan, if you were to think about drinking water quality and you needed to test it because it's questionable, or the quality of it is questionable, a normal laboratory test will cost you about 2,500 rand. You know, who in their right mind has that kind of money to do that, especially do it over time? So she started working on a community activist testing so that you can actually do it yourself in your own home at a cost of 200 rand. So that gives community organizations and residents associations and even individuals the ability to do this more often. So you can do it on a monthly basis, but also sharing that information and results with the broader community so that people have better peace of mind and understanding. So we're trying to also expose people then with tools that better empower them as communities and get them better organized to take ownership of their problems, but also to go over the highway. I think it's the N2 down there or something. I'm speaking under correction, but to also tap into the residents association that's your neighbor or in the ward next to you. And if folk can start working together like that, and you can see that positive energy coming to the fore, and you take hands of a municipality, I think you can make magic. It's so important to have organized communities that get more people associated or affiliated with them, and businesses. And a good example is where, let's say you've got a specific community in a ward with a residents association, there's 3,000 or 2,000 households. If you've got 500 or 1,000 or even 2,000 of those households as members or affiliates of that particular organization, supporting it in their time, tithe, and talent in whichever ways, and your neighboring residents association is the same, and you eventually get to a group where citizens and businesses are organized, you can even influence the future of politics in that space, because that's where the balance of forces come in, where a majority of people can speak towards, you know, how municipalities need to be run. The reason I'm saying that, it's very important, one has to distinguish the difference between officials, people who are full-time employed in municipalities that have to supply these services, the same with police and all that, and politicians. Politicians get elected every 5 years, and these days, you know, vote of no confidence and things, they change more often. But the problem is when communities are not organized and they don't participate in these municipal affairs, political changes can actually change what the plan and budgets were allocated to in providing services in a community towards specific wards or specific political gain projects, which has been a significant issue right through the country. You can see that everywhere. And that, in essence, results into bad maintenance and a lack of service delivery, and also service delivery breakdown. So if we can idealistically in South Africa achieve a change from grassroots level upwards, where we have so many organized communities that know what their rights are, they build relationships with the good officials and support municipal structures and doing their side, you know, I think we can really change South Africa for the better. We have to ensure that there's proper inclusivity and that marginalized communities are included in this, so that you also don't leave other communities behind in the same process. So I think the approach that Stephen and them have been taking is really commendable.
Thanks for that, Julius. Stephen, just a question for you based on that. It's really important to build community ownership of both the environment and the assets within a community. So, but when it comes to accountability of political figures and the municipality itself, a lot of groups want to bring litigation. They feel the court action is most probably the best way to force the municipality's hand. Have you been involved in that kind of activity as Tidy Towns? And what is your view on legal action against municipalities?
Yeah, Julia, thanks for that. Thank you very much, Julius. Your synopsis of what you guys do and what you're out there to do is 100% what we did. To answer the question there, we don't get involved in any of that. We're apolitical. We ask permission within the framework of the municipality. We want to go and debush an area or repair a tidal pool, we'll go to the environmental, we'll go to the EIA department, we'll go to the water and sanitation department. We've built relationships with them. And that is the beauty of what we do as Tidy Towns. We're an organization based for tourism. So we don't share any negative on our pages. You'll never see it. Although our local community have and do report to us everything that they want to be, how can I say, so we'll direct each complaint to the right department, which fast tracks the response. And we've found like-minded people within our municipal structures, which has been absolutely unbelievable. I can tell you now, sanitation and cleanliness, Wendy and Tidy, I work with her. I'll send her a WhatsApp of a picture of an area that a guy sent me where they just debushed or something, and the next day, like I said, it's gone. So when it comes to litigation, I've been down that route 2016. I have never seen a positive come out of it. Me personally, I know that there's places like Costa where they've taken over the municipality, and you know, I just don't know. I'd rather be a part of fixing the solution and asking the municipality, what can you do for us? And what do we need to provide from our side? Like we had a main arterial road on the way up, I think it's called the R620, which is up to Margate Police Station. And we had the heavy rains in 2022 that you mentioned, which was nothing compared to the 60 days ago, the 3 meters of rain that we had in 2 hours. And that main road had washed away. And subsequently, it was right next to my clothing factory. And we waited and waited and waited. And after 6 weeks, we went to the Department of Transport and we got the permissions. We got local civil engineers involved, and we repaired a road that would have been tendered out at about 4 or 5 million rand. We did with donations from the municipality, signed it off with engineers, did the gabions, did the drainage, and that road still stands today, even after the 300 millimeters of rain in 2 hours. So we get done and
That's
we get
really
it done.
incredible.
I can't waste time, to be honest with you, in litigation. Number one, I'm a salesperson. I'm a marketer. I'm a businessman. I can't go and sit and listen to promises. It just doesn't work.
Yeah,
for me.
I think that's a really important thing for local community organizations to understand, that a lot of the time joining together, this idea of co-governance, working with different departments, can have a much faster and kind of more, like I said, community ownership element of it. I'd like to introduce, I see that he joined us this evening, and I'm very glad that he's here with us. Naveen Bashu, who's joining us from Kensington in Johannesburg. He runs an initiative called KICK, and they're doing incredible work in the kind of southeast of Johannesburg. Naveen, if you can unmute yourself and tell us a little bit about how you're managing to do co-governance.
Hi, Julia. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so we started off KICK, Keep It Clean. It was initially called Keep It Clean Kensington. We moved it over to Keep It Clean Ward 66 and 118. And we basically started in November 9th, 2022, so in month 20. And all we did was we had lots of chats on this group, has about 750 plus people, covers 12 suburbs in Joburg East, Ward 66 and 118. And what we did was in that 2 to 3 weeks, we spoke about everything. We let people vent, we let everybody talk, and we kind of reach a conclusion that we just need a 3-leg strategy: clean, educate, and force. Clean as in clean the environment, to clean up campaigns and so on. Educate, empower people on how to actually order bin basic stuff around how to report illegal dumping, get rid of the furniture. We saw what Pick It Up did. They had all these flyers and whatever, so we put together all of that. And then the enforce part is to get the bylaw enforcement, and it inevitably turned into self-enforcement, with communities taking things into their own hands by getting street committees and groups to sort of take ownership of their street. And then we met a lady in the group at the same time. Her name is Mam Yomna. She's almost 70, and she offered us an opportunity to convert these illegal dumping hotspots into community gardens so we can beautify the place. Because each time you clean, then tomorrow or an hour later, you're going to get a plastic packet being dumped there. And then it became, so we said, well, let's clean up and then let's convert that into a community garden. And we started working with Pick It Up, who is the service provider linked to the City of Joburg. We've got an awesome team from Pick It Up Norwood and Southdale that work with us. The ops manager is basically on the group, the training and awareness officer. So we basically involve them in all of the three-leg strategy. The biggest bummer is always the bylaw enforcement, but we're moving forward in terms of that to have meetings and so on to engage them further and see how we can actually get JMPD operations and JMPD bylaw enforcement or bylaw management unit together. And then we have a phenomenal team from Pick It Up head office. We have training and awareness officers, and they work with us and partner with us where we do awareness campaigns, door-to-door campaigns, and we're making amazing inroads, especially on the main roads and now into the side roads of all of the 12 suburbs. And people are now starting to convert a lot of those dumping hotspots in each suburb through cleanup campaigns and immediately converting into a garden or getting the local community involved through sponsorships and so on. And some people end up getting jobs from that, end up making some money out of it. And it's basically up to the community, but we're going to structure it a little bit better as we go forward. But we've got a lot of learning over the last 20 months, and we appreciate what tidy towns are doing, and I totally agree. It's all about building working relationships, and it's the energy that you exude when you get out there into the streets that really gets people connected. And we're starting to get community back into the community in exactly the same way that tidy towns leadership have done and the community have done, and that's basically where we are in that space. So we're having lots of fun. Most of us have full-time jobs, a lot of volunteers, but lots of people who don't have full-time jobs, so they volunteer their time. But we're basically getting things done, and we're starting to see a different look here in the city, Joburg East side of City of Joburg. And we're starting to see the leadership of the City of Joburg starting to wake up and actually see, wow, this is really amazing. And maybe this initiative can be rolled out within the whole City of Joburg. So we're looking forward to further engagement with them. But we just keep our heads down. We do what we need to do. We get sponsors for things. And then we sometimes self-fund some of the things that we're doing, but we just make it happen. And we got a design specialist that designed our flyers and so on. She does amazing work for us. And what we've done is we know multiple dwellings are an issue. A lot of foreign nationals are living in these multiple dwellings. They speak a different language from us. So we actually converted those flyers into Lingala, Swahili, and French. So and stuff that the city didn't even think about, Pick It Up didn't think about, and they actually quite appreciative of the fact that we've been innovative and creative. And we look at it, we always look at there's a problem there, but we look at it as hey, what solutions do we have, and we chat about it. Open our group at 6 in the morning, close it at 9 in the night with a quotation, so we can dwell on some things, and we can sleep on something that's going to motivate us for the next morning, and then we keep going, and we just keep going, and it's actually fun. And we make a big difference.
That's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing your experience and what's happening in Kensington. And both you and Stephen quite strongly talk about the need to communicate, market, really put out what are the projects you are doing and how to get communities involved. So if anyone else on this webinar is interested, we will be running a workshop on the 17th of July on how to market and communicate your RA's activities. And I think we can learn a lot this evening already from Stephen and Naveen in that sphere.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm actually a program manager in my day job. So I understand how to run projects and programs because I work in an organization that has a national footprint. So organizing and mobilizing and controlling and dealing with challenges and issues. And a lot of times it's to do with communication challenges and so on, misunderstandings. when you deal with it behind the scenes and you get it done, and then you get people back onto the same page and get them to focus. And I think that really makes things work. And that's a magic that happens behind the scenes that many people don't see. We like the results, but there's times where the results are very difficult to come through because of misunderstandings and everybody on a different page. And then you get everybody on the same page to focus. And wow, magic happens when people actually get onto the same page, and communities create that magic just with the heart and soul that they have. And they all want the same thing, want a clean, service-delivered environment to live in, so that we can improve and business can be attracted to it. And that's what we plan to do on a daily basis, and we keep doing it. Thanks.
Thank you, Naveen. And I think also what both you and Stephen are talking about is, kind of growing communities through community investment, through upliftment of people who are technically outside of the margins of normal community work, really giving them a purpose, giving them an opportunity to grow and be educated and branch out into areas that they didn't have the opportunity to before. And I think it's really meeting people where they are. That's an important way of growing community. So thank you for that. Stephen, I've got a question for you that came up in the chat. Did you get SAPS? How do you get SAPS to buy into enforcing bylaws? Of course, Naveen mentioned JMPD, which is the bylaw enforcement structure in the city of Joburg. But one of the participants said, our biggest issue is that SAPS aren't interested in enforcing bylaws because they're not crimes. So how did you foster that relationship?
So Julia, Nevin, sorry, let me just go back to him. Nevin, well done there. You guys are doing an amazing job there in Kensington. I'll definitely try and get your details because we're very like-minded. Julia, I don't know the situation and the relationship between the community and that police station in particular. What I did is, from my social media and my marketing background, I turned all the negatives and the stereotypes from the past of SAPS is useless, law enforcement is useless, and I brought them in like brothers, And I know all my guys by name. I know Jody Singh and Sergeant Nayaga and Captain Sneyman and Brigadier Slabbert and Safisa Ngaku and Darren Govender. And these people have become like a family of mine. If I've got a problem or they got a problem, Steve, can you help us with this? Darren, can you help me with that? We've got the Mardi Gras up and running. We've got a crime prevention happening between all our CPFs. And you got to build that relationship. And you got to find one like-minded policeman. He'll have kids. He'll have a common area. And we talk about areas of excellence. But that's a two-pronged system. So you've got to remember areas of excellence for tourism is very splashy, the beachfront and that. But what about the locals that can't afford that? So we've gone to parks and we've cleaned up parks and we've cleaned up areas and we've got buy-in from the municipality, and we have the SAPS mounted patrol during holiday seasons, and the police engage with the children at like a CPF open day that we hosted for Uvongo CPF. And we build in the relationship that is so important between the good guys. And it's the good versus the bad in everything. And the good guys are supposed to be the police. And we need to bring them in and show them that we need them. We know we need them. And they need us. They don't want to walk down the street and, geez, I wonder what that guy thinks of us. And, and we tend to comb the whole SAPS because of a few bad apples. I believe that there's good in every department. I've found absolute amazing people within our municipality, in our law enforcement, people that have got kids, I've got children. We work together. The biggest problem is you need to identify the problems and find solutions with all the role players. Each person, I can't do that, I can't do that. Here's the beauty of our bylaws. The law states that any crime that is committed in the presence of a policeman, they can be arrested for loitering, for throwing a paper. It's a litter. You get fined for it by your bylaw law enforcement, but because it's a crime, and that's how we've kind of worked it here on the South Coast. If a guy's in an area after 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, guys, and he's not from the area, he's there. He's ultimately there to either case houses or he's working part of a syndicate. And since we work together with our crime prevention, we've had a huge reduction in household break-ins, local break-ins, and you can see that when you push on the vagrism and the loitering in an area, how the areas next to you start complaining. And one of the things that we did is I got hold of our law enforcement chief, Stephen and Brigadier Stubbard before December. I said, guys, we know that the car guards are part and parcel of the runners for these drug guys. Please can we put up a CPF board that says no car guards unless they are CIRA registered and a business actually takes responsibility for them outside their business. Lo and behold, we don't have one car guard in Margate, and we don't have half the problems of bag snatching and all sorts when people come down. So there, you got to use information, you got to use intelligence, you got to use your environmental, your policing, and that's why we say clean makes clean, and together we can do so much more.
Amazing, thank you, Stephen. I've got a question for all of you. So Julia, Stephen, Naveen, even Jonathan, when communities approach you asking for help, what is the most common question they're asking? Like, what are the things that they're like, I want you to do this for me, or I need this to happen in my community? What are the things that pop up most regularly when it comes to, you know, communities that need?
Service delivery from my side, guys.
Yeah, same here. And it usually starts with, there's this heap of rubbish in this corner and it's growing. and then you have the discussion online, and sometimes you take it offline, a telephone call, and then you get to understand, and then you start unpacking. I always call it peeling the onion. When you peel onions, you cry, because that's what happens when you start listening to the issues, and you start unpacking the issues with the resident. You get to understand the depth of the issue, and it's very much that it's exactly as Stephen said, it's a service delivery. And please assist us because we feel we don't have any way out, and that's basically what you get all the time.
Yeah, Julia, just on what Nevin has just said, that's why I promise you, when you take care of the petty crime, the large crime will take care of itself. And I'm talking, if an area like a car park at St. Michael's beachfront looked dirty, a person that's there to commit crime will feel very at home. I use a very old, my grandmother always said it, you can have a pile of dirt in the corner with cockroaches. Take away the rubbish and watch, the cockroaches will leave. So I know it's a horrible thing to say, and I'm not using it in any term derogatory, but I'm saying clean makes clean. So that's why we stick at that. And we've got a saying on the South Coast, and that's to encourage civic pride and clean ocean living, because it starts out at the beach. If you have a dirty beach, you'll see that people that come here, they think it's lacquer on the South Coast, it's nice and easy and, you know, a nice way of life, and they end up living on the beaches and they see how hard it is. And that's why, for me as a businessman, to donate a bus ticket to a guy to get him back to his parents' home in Eastern Cape or Joburg, and that it takes the burden off the town, number one, and it helps him. So it's a two-way street, and that's learning the streets. And it took me good 18 months. I've had threats against my life. You don't even want to know half the stuff. So clean makes clean should be a national footprint, because I promise you, that is exactly what it is. And it relates to the municipal officers. Don't leave refuse a day or two, because someone sees it and they've got rubble on the back of their car and they go, oh, well, it's dirty anyway, let me go dump there. But if it was clean, they're reluctant. So we creatures of habit.
No, thanks. Just to respond to the question, Julia, that you've asked us on now. Thanks, Stephen. I mean, it's incredible work that you've been doing. Question I get most regularly is, can you help? And I think so. It's very general. It's not only service-related issues, but I think that's what makes this kind of webinar so essential, because all the viewers here are not normally just residents, you know, with complaints. It is the leaders in communities, and I think that's very important, because people come to people who can help or look like they can help, and that is leadership. So people want to be led. So I think it's very important to just listen really deeply on what Stephen and Naveen's been saying about relationships. It's very important that we foster that in our communities. And Stephen, you mentioned something. You said you're building relationships with the good guys. What we, you know, I think it's become quite systemic in our world today in South Africa and so on, with all the negativity on how bad government is. But the majority of people in South Africa and the majority of people in government are good people. I think it's just sometimes time for us to remind them, or giving them access to feel like that. And I think if we can build on what you have said and other communities, you know, there's so many of these kind of movements and initiatives like Better Bedford View and East of Johannesburg and all those kind of things. If we can take a similar approach and start getting the best out of those individuals, the good guys, you're going to see how few the bad people really are in South Africa. Unfortunately, they're just getting a lot of traction in the media. But thank you for this. Good show.
Thanks for that. I'd just like to then throw it forward and say that one of the big questions in the group is like, how do we become a tidy town? How do we get our community kick-started? How do we become a community that can? How do people link up with your different initiatives and what you guys are doing?
So from my side, Julia, we've got like a package that we send out to anyone on a WhatsApp. And how I judge it is I send that package and it tells you like-minded people, you need a spade, you need a wheelbarrow, you need the basics, clean your verges, clean your neighbor's verge. She might be an 80-year-old lady. Go and clean her verge for her. We're South Africans. We're the best population and community in the world. Go and do it for her. Go and do it no matter what their color or creed is. But the most important thing is, and this is what I've learned, and you can follow us on Tiny Town Shelly Beach to Margate Facebook page. I'm very active there and I'm consistent. The word consistent with what we do is what has made us just stand out more than anyone else. There are great people like Andre van Pletzen in Kroonstad, Revive Kroonstad, and he's won Dorp van die Jaar. And then there's a guy, Lucas Potgieter in Hatfield, that has got that whole Hatfield UIP. That guy's unbelievable. And then you've got Golf 911 in Greytown. I did a talk there 2 days ago. This morning I landed up doing a talk to guys from Cockstad from a security company. And at 1 o'clock today, I was doing a talk at our conservancy. And now I'm on this. So it's a full-time job. And as long as you love what you're doing, it's never a day in the office. You know, my aircon business runs. I've got good management. My clothing business I love. But this is what I'm passionate about. And I'll say this, and anyone can contact me. My number is 082-453-1133. Here's what I'm passionate about. I did it over live talk with Kate Talk the one day. I got inundated. But I believe that South Africa has got the potential to be one of the greatest countries in the world, not just in Africa. We've got like-minded people. We've been through all sorts of hardships. And if this election has shown us anything, Julius was talking there about something that resonated with me, and I use it a lot in my talks. In a classroom, there will be 1 or 2 bullies. The rest are good children. Let's foster that. Let's grow this country, and let's stop bickering about the past. Let's move forward, knowing what we've dealt with, and being kind to each other, and working for a cleaner and safer tomorrow in every community.
Naveen, is there any way that members who joined us tonight can find out more about the KICK initiative?
Yeah, sure. I can give my number as well. You can WhatsApp me.
You can give us on Facebook or some
Okay.
kind of social media. I don't want to put your number
fine.
on YouTube.
Okay. Okay. I'll send it through, and then you could add it on there. I can put it on the chat. No,
we'll share with everyone.
I don't know issues with that, because, and then we exactly like Stephen, you know, we have a bit of a package, guiding principles and flyers and everything, and we basically just send that out. We have somebody who created a Facebook page, but they didn't launch it. But we just have an X handle. Somebody manages it. But for me, it's just the WhatsApp. It's the face-to-face interaction, and then connecting on WhatsApp, and just getting to work with people on the ground. So, and I like, you know, a lot of stuff that Stephen spoke about. Is just amazing when you start listening to how many other communities are now being influenced positively. And as Julius indicated, there's so many of these community initiatives popping up everywhere, which means that it just goes to show that everybody just wants basic service delivery, and they want to feel the community back into the community. And because we have amazing heart in South Africa, and all we want to do is just make a clean space, our space that we live, work, play, socialize, and do business in. Must be a clean and safe environment for our kids and for the future of our kids. And for our elders as well. And as I heard Stephen say, you know, your neighbor can't do that, so see if you can assist. And we're getting to that because we're starting to see people out there starting to talk to us. They say we can only do this because we can afford this, and they give us a little bit of a sponsorship, and we support them. And every single bit of input we take into account, and we actually engage. And I respond to almost every message where there's questions being asked in the group, and we always look at the positives, and we keep building on the positive, because once you build that positive foundation, nobody can break that down. And you're moving forward, you're pushing the ball forward, and you're finding solutions, and immediately a lot of people suddenly become team players in the bigger scheme of things, and we get things done. So that's how it works from our side. Thank you.
Julius, do you have anything to add?
I've been in this space for well over 12 years, and I feel inspired tonight by Stephen and Naveen, and thank you for that. It's really good feeling. You know, I think we've accomplished our mission tonight as CAN, because this is really what we want to achieve in South Africa, is getting all of you in touch with one another and building on each other's successes. So that's crucial. I think folks can also just go look at the can.org.za or arta.co.za or joburcan.org.za, and each of them have quite a unique focus area. So it's very important. But holistically, we want to build a South Africa and unlock its potential for everyone. Prosperity. Thank you.
Yeah, I've been incredibly inspired tonight as well. I go to a lot of the community meetings and, you know, AGMs and a lot of the cleanups that happen across the city, and it really has been such a rewarding position to be able to be like involved with so many amazing groups that are inspiring so many across the country, and I really take it as a privilege. So I would like to thank our panelists tonight for taking the time to join us. Naveen, for being co-opted, thank you. We will be engaging more on topics of co-governance in our webinars every month. The next one will be scheduled on the 31st of July, and this is to discuss development planning. It's a very major issue for a lot of residents associations and ratepayers groups that have to spend a lot of money in fixing development planning issues. So with the help of specialists in the field, we'll unpack your rights as far as development planning and some of the laws around it. So join us for that on the 31st of July. Like Julia said, you can visit our website, joburcan.org.za or can.org.za, learn a little bit more about the Community Association in a Box package that we offer, and also sign up for our newsletter. We've got a lot of resources there aimed at helping communities and giving you some of the information that we discuss on these webinars. This has been the 5th episode of our CAN Co-Governance series. Please let us know what types of topics or questions you would like us to tackle in these monthly webinars so we can be sure to grow and engage your communities on critical issues. Head over to our website, to the webinar hub in the next 24 hours or so, where this will be posted on YouTube. From me, Julia Fish, and the team, thank you so much and good night.